I belong in this community as well, and I've just finished a Masters of Cultural and Creative Industries. Now, the reason why I mention this is because we've been throwing around the idea or the term case study, and I'm wondering if there is possibly a published case study that has been done on this work that you've been doing over the festivals. It's the kind of information that I would have used in my master's degree, but it would also be really helpful to the community. Businesses and NGOs could use that to help leverage their grant making, if that makes sense. So, yeah.
The answer is no. That's part of why Tani and I were making so much up on the fly. We were moving into new space that hadn't been explored before, and that takes some pre-planning and some pre-thought, and making sure that you're not going in there completely uninformed, but as informed and prepared as you can be, but also with some humility and some preparedness to learn along the way. So that is what this guide will be. There'll be a whole section that is explaining what we learned at Chill Out through that process. Some of those lessons hard learned, some of those things that we did expect and they did go well. So that's the purpose of what this would be. And we're also very conscientious already around putting in the evidence base within that allows you then to put that into your grant applications. So here's something that was done because the government was funding this project to be able to pilot this kind of work. We don't have that kind of funding. Here's again, Private Lives 4 has just closed, and the data around disability is better than it's ever been. So when Arches publishes that, there'll be a really great breakdown of this is how that intersectional experience compounds isolation, loneliness, and therefore you need to give us money that allows us to pay people to engage and help us improve our strategies. Sure.
Hello again. So just for context purposes, so a couple of years ago you were given a government grant to do this almost like research project, or how would you, state what it was, how did you get the funding for it, what were your requirements, like did you have things that you were needing to find out, and I guess your guide is going to be like the publication of all your findings. Is that the correct understanding of what's going on?
That's the part that we've explained thus far in this context. Not to end up taking it over and making it all about accessible pride, so I'm happy to chat to you further. But we're funded by an arm of the federal government that used to be called Information Linkages and Capacity Building. Now they have a new acronym because government loves to change acronyms. But it's particular money that was looking at seeks to try to improve disability experiences in spaces that aren't the NDIS. And so it's a 3-year project, participatory action research framing, which means that it's evidence-based and evidence building. And events is only one part of what we've looked at. We've looked at practice in the disability sector. We've looked at practice in the LGBTIQ sector. We've got training materials that will be rolled out as well. There's a whole suite of things. We've been working on it for 2 years in the research phase, and now we're in the write-up phase. Come back here in April, and you can hear all about it then when it's all finished, if Tani and I continue to work as hard as we try to.
I will say that I sympathise with discovering new things after you've written research papers. And I do think that this is actually an area that is under-researched. I actually think that while there are amazing kind of large events like Chill Out that are doing some really cutting-edge things, I suspect that small grassroots community organised events are probably far more responsive to the community needs just as a kind of baseline. And I wish, this is just a hint if you're wanting to do a PhD, say, I think that mapping that out would be amazing. And I think you'd find some really incredible events who have found some really amazing strategies for increasing access. So, just a thought.
Can I just say that Chill Out, even though we've been running for 30 years and everyone thinks we're this massive organisation, we are purely volunteer run. We depend on our volunteers at festival time to help us actually put the festival on. I continually try and get funding to support us in providing accessible things. For example, I'm going to have to try and hire a Marveloo again for next year because we didn't have one this year and it was a real problem. But that costs $6,000, $7,000 each year. I tried to get funding to actually build something that was very similar but portable so other festivals could use it. I said, well, how's that going to be used by people, LGBTIQA plus people at festivals, really? It's hard when we've got to try and get funding for these things. On that level that we're not an organisation like Thorn Harbour, we are just above the grassroots level. We are grassroots, but we've just got a longer history, that's all. Funding's the hard bit. And that, hats off to Matt, and that's why I jumped on board with Matt and said, yes, we'll be part of it because there's no way we could do this without that support. So I'm glad we were able to help him get the data.
Let me write you a letter of support for that application. Okay, I'm super conscious of time, so I'm going to wind us up now. Thank you all for sticking around and for bearing with us going rampantly over time. I think, as you can tell, there is a lot of conversation to be had around this. We are hoping that there will be more of these kinds of events in future, so stay connected and keep posted, and thank you all for coming along. Thanks.